Hello, hello, all. Finally got started without a major effect from our youngest, David Benshul, who seems to be causing troubles tonight. David, sit in your corner and you behave. Yeah, you sit and you behave. Or don't maybe get Tom get on to you. But welcome to our show tonight, our chat. We got to come up with a name with this. Yeah, you do that and I'll do that, and but we got to come up
I'm
with a name with
stupid.
this.
No, I'm with stupid, and you're with stupid. There you go.
You see, this is the way this night's going already. So maybe you'll get a laugh with us tonight. But we do have a serious subject tonight. We're going to talk about adversity, why things happen to us, and how we handle this. And I put in the description that sometimes the religious answer don't always work with people. One thing that I've always noticed that when people die or some a loved one dies, it seems like people say, well, we're praying for you. And I understand the gesture of why people say that, but I really don't understand if it really helps. Tom, okay, there, Tom, you were frozen. Now you're gone. What's Tom doing? I just sitting here watching the wheels go round. Do you see him, David?
No,
I don't either.
no, he's got the little wheelie going around. But we lost him.
He'll be back. We'll continue on. Without Daddy here, we can really cause some problems now.
Yes. There he is. He's back.
Tom, if you don't want to do the show, you just don't have to leave. Just tell us first, okay?
No, somebody did it to me. I think it was David.
Probably so. It probably was David. But we're going to get on the show now about adversity. And Tom wanted to start it off because he's going to talk about some situations that's happened to him and how he dealt with that. And we'll go from there with that conversation. So go ahead, Tom. Go ahead and start with.
Yeah. Back many, many years ago, back around the time of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, many years.
No, when I was 18 years old, I was given this incredible ability to jump. And the background to that was the way some of my friends were being treated. And some of the people were being treated. We had people who were on the hockey team, and they were great hockey players, you know, and they had their little cliques. And all the people that didn't have any money, that didn't have that type of finesse, farmers, you know, ordinary people, they looked down upon and treated them like crap. And I saw that, and I thought, you know, doggone it, I just can't stand that type of arrogance and that type of elevating yourself above someone and judging them that way. So I in my heart, I said, God, if you give me the ability to jump, I'll do something with this. I'll really do something with this. Right. And so I received a tremendous ability to be able to jump. I was able to touch the rim with my knee. I could jump so high.
That's amazing.
I know it sounds weird, but so I started high jumping. And when I was 18 years old, a senior in high school, I did 1 inch under the world record set by Valery Brumel from Russia. Wow. I did 6'11", and he cleared 7 feet. And then I was going to train to go into the Olympics, and wanted to, you know, take that 7-foot height even higher. And so I guess that God had other plans for me, because in one day, the ability to jump was gone. Wow. And it was one of the biggest disappointments I had in my life, because I thought, well, here, I'm going to do something with it. I identified with the ability to do something that was taken from me right away. And that stayed with me for, gosh, all of my life. I had this sense of I wanted to do something. I wanted to fulfill something. I wanted to do something right. I wanted to do something good. I guess a person wants to try and prove yourself by having some type of a capability or ability. And so I lived with that for a long, long time, and I had a series of other disappointments, really difficult personal issues and all of that kind of thing, which I won't get into right now, unless, you know, you guys bring it up. But and it hasn't been until now that I've come to see the validity of it, because even though it left a gaping hole inside and a real personal disappointment, I learned that it wasn't about doing, it was about just being. It wasn't about doing, it was just about being. And I began to accept myself and the failure, and I began to say that there's more to life than just, you know, being a great athlete. or doing something spectacular that everybody else is going to see and take note of. And so with that, I began to settle inside and began to feel a release. And a lot of that was connected up too with my relationship with my dad, whom I love and I forgive him dearly. He was a tough guy,
Right.
out of the military, and flew 30-some missions over Germany during the war, and saw a lot of action. And so the way he related to me was that, you got to buck up, ex-military man, you got to do something, And then when I didn't fulfill something, it was, no good SOB, you're never going to amount to anything in life. And so that didn't help matters either. He never really went to any of my track meets. That was something that I had personally could do, was given to me. And he never cooperated in any of that either. And that left a hole inside. But I began to see that over the course of time, that, like I say, it isn't about doing, it's about just being, and accepting the fact that this is who I am. And who I am doesn't necessarily have to be connected with how good I do in sports or anything like that. Because, bottom line is some things are going to work and some things aren't. Some things you're gonna succeed in, and some things you're gonna fail in. And it's just really a part of life and living and learning to find out your true identity and who you really are. So that was a huge disappointment to me. And there was one other disappointment to me that when I was young, 16 years old, and you probably can identify with this, I had a crush on a girl that I had met. And, at 16 years old, you think you're going to get married and have about 15 kids, and everything is going to be just fine. And I remember and being really truthful from my heart. I thought, I really love this girl. I'm going to marry this girl. And I came to visit her one evening, and there was another one of my teammates from the basketball team was there with her, laying on the couch, and they were, doing some stuff. And I'm sitting there. I was astounded. I thought, why would she do that to me? Why would they do that to me? And that was another difficult experience of realizing that some people are going to let you down, that you could be truthful in your own heart, but other people might not relate to you in that truthfulness.
Right.
That truthfulness has stayed with me to this day. And I do know that even when I pursue truth, when I pursue reality and I'm honest, that I'm still going to get burned, but that's okay, because that's part of who I am. That's part of my identity, is to be honest and truthful. And so those are two stories.
David, you got anything?
Oh, you want me to add a story or comment on him?
Whatever. No.
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
Well, I don't have any disappointments, so life's just perfect.
I thought Mike was.
I ain't got nothing to say now.
No, my life is perfect. Yeah, we all have disappointments. One of my biggest disappointments was realizing what religion was. Because you grow up, it's like a tradition. A family does a certain thing. They go to a certain synagogue, church, whatever, and it's a faith. And when you start realizing what is going on and what is happening, and now you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm letting down my family, my mother, my father, my grandparents, and so on and so forth, to the point where, you no longer belong to this family type of a situation. And, it hurts, because you're not only fighting them, dealing with them and their disappointment in you, but also yourself, because you have a programming going on inside of you that you have to unravel. And it's not easy. It's taken me years to get to where I am now. It took me from, let me see, I've always been evolving. We all evolve. But it's only been the last 20, 30 years where I really started to question things. And so I had to deal with that. Also, another disappointment, probably since you two are older than me, you can relate this. You can even encourage me and maybe even help me get over this.
Yeah.
Aging is a disappointment. It's like I can't do the things I used to do. I used to be able to eat stuff
I know.
that, set your rear end on fire. Now you think about it, and you're just, you're just like emptying yourself on the can. You know, just thinking about it.
That's where most
You
of your
don't have
work is
to
done now.
Yeah, right. Man at work. The loss of physical strength,
Yeah.
physical things in your body that, your knees. I'm having knee issue, not my knees, but my kneecaps.
Right.
I could feel there's some cartilage in there, so I got to go and have that taken care of. And they both happened within about a week of each other.
Right.
I don't know what happened. Usually it's one knee, a year and a half, 2 years later, it's the next knee. No, they both. So I'm got to go for that. Eyes, and other things. So, it's the disappointment in realizing, hey, I'm aging.
Right.
Which I think we can all relate to.
Right.
But it is teaching me that I need to focus on other things. I still got a brain. At least after 4 kids, I think I have a brain.
A little bit.
A little bit. There's a little bit there that they haven't discovered.
Right.
So I'm trying to be less physical and more. I don't want to even say intellectual because that's not correct, but more. What would I call that? Thoughts, ideas, sharing, my wisdom, my understanding of things. So that's where, that's what I do. But, again, like Tom, you were saying, hey, God has got other plans for you. And doesn't make it hurt less, but it keeps you from, or hello to my friend. So.
I was wondering when you're going to bring the serpent out.
It's the only bottle I have, and you can see I don't really touch it. I mean, I'm not even going to have it today because what I ate and stuff, just not going to go with it.
Yeah.
So, we're on the same boat, and nobody can claim, that they haven't have disappointments. They got perfect lives, or, we all face it.
Well,
So
if they do say that, they're liars, pretty much. Because I don't see how you could have a perfect life in this world that we're living in.
I had a pastor friend. Pastor Rose was his name. Very nice guy. He was evangelical. So I didn't agree with him on things, but he was of the heart. I can deal with anyone who's got a heart. I don't care what you believe. We can disagree and still love each other. I'm fine.
Right.
He told me, he said, one time, he says, I remember there was a preacher who says, I'm perfect and all this stuff. And he says, can I talk to your wife? Oh, no, you can't talk to her.
That's true. That's true.
He told me that joke, and I was like, that's a good one. I like that.
You would definitely find the truth in that situation talking to the woman for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You would definitely find out.
When I've seen shows like that, every hair is in place, and I'm tempted to go right through the screen and mess up their hair. I'm serious. Yeah.
Well, that's not a problem on this side. I tell you.
I hear you.
Not a problem at all.
Fella's getting there
it's
too.
there somewhere.
The youngin's coming right behind us, Tom. He's coming along with us.
That's right.
You mean this is what I have to look forward to? Oi.
This is your future, brother. This is your future. I think,
David, you talk about religion and disappointment. I remember, I was raised Roman Catholic, and I hated the dang stuff. I just hated it. Oh, man. And
you're the other ones. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And they put me through catechism and all of this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, man, I hate this stuff. And I started asking questions of the nun.
Big mistake.
She came up, she hit me over the head with the ruler and grabbed my ear, and I never went back. My parents thought I did, but I didn't. We had a hospital in between our home and the place where we go to catechism. And down below in the hospital, they had an ice cream where you get ice cream and candy and stuff like that and pop. And I go down there and spend my whole time until finally my brother, who did go through it, he picked up my report card. It had all F's, and I changed it to B's. I did. I can't help it. Well, as I began to evolve in my sense of disappointment with religion in general and all the rituals and all the crap that came along with it, I began to explore other things. First thing my mom says, well, you can't leave the church. You can't leave your religion. And I'm thinking to you, that's the whole. I said, watch me. watch me.
Ooh.
And and of course it was a good journey, and I'm still on the journey now here, especially with the rest of you guys.
You're on the
here,
lowest
so.
level of hell, right?
Yeah, but it was really bad. I mean, and just like you were saying, you let your family down and all this kind of thing and all that kind of thing. And I live with that too, but I did live with it. But it was short lived when I thought, gee, I'm sure glad I'm out of that hell.
Yeah.
And all that entailed with it, all that ritualism, that
Yep.
structure. You know what the worst part about it is when, I don't know if you guys celebrate Christmas, we did, and they made us go to midnight mass. And I could hardly, and all I could think of was just getting up and getting into the gifts and eating food, and so it was one of the most. It was horrible going through that, sitting through that. The guy's going Dominiscum, Friscum, and speaking in Latin. I didn't have a clue as to what the heck he was saying, and come to find out later in life, when I did leave that, I took the Bible and I started to read it, and I said, you say you shouldn't do this, but I say, and it says, what it says here in the Bible, why are you doing this? And I asked the priest a couple of questions. He says, well, you should probably leave. I said, goodbye. I'm out the door. See you later. So anyways, there's a couple of stories.
And if it didn't happen, you wouldn't be spiritually minded now.
True.
Yeah.
Mike, we haven't talked to you yet.
Oh, I have no problems. Life is perfect. No, just kidding.
Oh yeah, he's perfect.
I mean, I'm same with y'all. I mean, it's the same thing. Getting older. I just had this conversation with Bella and Mandy. We were talking at supper, and I said, it's something now that the age that I'm at, I get up so early. I get off at work, come home, eat, take a nap, get up, eat supper, and generally go to bed. And I said, that's about all I really can do now. I'm not sick. It's just wore out completely. And even to the point of study, I'm so thankful that YouTube has a lot of these books on where I can listen to them online while I'm working, because I'm getting more out of it and stuff. But the health issue, I totally agree with David. And, I had an experience 20 years ago I was an assistant manager at a grocery store, and I basically fell 4.5 feet down on my ankle sideways. And I shattered my leg. It took 2 months to get it diagnosed because it was swollen so big.
Wow.
And then they had to put pins. Well, the first 15 years afterwards, you wouldn't even know I fell because I was running, jumping like I normally did. And then when I moved up here, it was the weirdest thing. When I moved to Atlanta, it started limping. And it got to the point where I couldn't even practice with my girls at softball and stuff. I had to stay still, which, trying to play softball standing still don't work. But I felt the same way, David. I felt like I love sports. I love running. Never was good at any of it, but I enjoyed it, if that makes any sense. And even like hunting, I can't climb a tree stand no more. I mean, I still would go sit on the ground if I could. But the thing is these things that Amar said something, that life is set up in stages to where we're young, we're stupid, we do whatever. We'll jump over cars, we'll jump over everything. And then we get to our middle age where we start feeling the aches and pains, but we're still stupid enough to do dumb things. But yet when we get to the age that David's reaching, we come to a point to where we think more before we act, which is smart because we are actually to the age where we're using wisdom. But Tom, it goes back to a conversation we had Sunday morning with Barbara when she was talking about, and y'all were talking about the demerge and stuff like that, about how these things, these obstacles, these problems that we have in our life are there for a purpose. They're not evil. They're not the devil. They're not the enemy in any way. It is trying to force us into the path that the Creator wants us to go. And she brought up the point of childbirth, that when a child is being born. Now, I've never had one. I don't know if you two have had one before. I've never had one.
Not recently.
No, I haven't.
I haven't seen your bellies yet. So.
Okay. So
no, you're okay.
Okay.
That's from beer.
Yeah. That's right. That's my baby. But she was discussing how when the baby's being born, it's basically shoved up into the rib cage, and then and my wife was talking about the trauma the baby actually goes through going through the birthing thing. Even when the C-section, from the moment of cutting, bringing out, the baby goes through so much, as you can imagine, going from one basically dimension to another one.
Yeah.
And life is the same way, Tom, because basically if you would have been successful in high jumping and got a college scholarship and maybe gone Olympic team and stuff like that, you would have missed even where you are now with your, the situation that you're more spiritually minded, to the point of where you're helping people, direct them and edifying them and stuff like that. And then if you met that girl and she'd been the wrong one, I've experienced this. It's the wrong one. And then your path, you're like the Israelites, you're in the wilderness for 40 years going around waiting for that option to go. And so, I mean, really, when I look at your situation, yeah, I can imagine how it was very horrific at the time. But in the long term, I saw a video, and it was talking about, it was a guy who did the Course of Miracles, and I can't think of Stephen's his first name. But he was talking about how we view things within our life. He says that we as humans, if you take a 30-foot fence, privacy fence, and you have different things that decorate it, like designs or whatever, you're walking along and you look at these fence and you're looking at segments at a time. Oh, that's a beautiful sun mural right there. And then you walk to the next one. Oh, that's a beautiful moon mural. But the way God looks at it, he's standing back 50 feet looking at the whole wall. He's not looking at segments like we are. So he's looking at the whole picture. So that's kind of when she said that about giving birth, and that we create our own demiurge, we create our own demons and stuff like that, because that is to force us into the place that we need to be. And some of us, like myself, take a little bit longer to get there than you two guys do. But it's an interesting journey that we look at distraction and we look at depression. What God looks at it as it's an opportunity more than it is a negative experience, is what I'm trying to say.
Well,
when you say looking at the go ahead there, young fella.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say we're programmed,
right?
And at a young age, we pop out, and the next first thing we want, food and water.
Right.
We want warmth.
Right.
So we're all physically oriented.
Right.
We have our five senses.
Right.
We can't really make sense of it other than, well, I know when I see this, yum yum.
Yeah.
If I hear that.
Right.
Uh-oh, watch out.
Right.
So we start the programming process, and we continue that throughout our life. And if it wasn't for disappointments, at least I'm speaking for myself.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I don't sit there saying, oh, golly, I just can't wait for the next disappointment. Yeah, I just can't wait. No, I no way. I run the other direction.
Right.
I mean, I'm normal in that respect. But the reality is, I have to deprogram certain things that are in my mind and start relearning what my senses are teaching me,
right,
and what they're not teaching me,
right.
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was going to say that at that particular time, when you're growing up and you're young and you're experiencing all of these things and you don't have a connection with something beyond yourself, the only thing that you're confronted with is, I didn't have no big picture. My big picture was the high jump, and it was having kids, and when all of that got flushed down the toilet, I'm sitting there thinking, gee,
right,
what is the big picture?
Right.
It created a search inside me to find out who the big picture was.
Right.
And that was a key. And so like you're saying, David, you have to unravel all the programming that you thought, well, the great American dream, you got to get married, have kids, have a beautiful house, all of this kind of crap. And when it gets flushed down the toilet, you think, what the heck? Why would I ask for that? You'd have to be a masochist. Spank me, hit me. I mean, do me in. That's just as ridiculous. I mean, why?
Stop.
With high heels, please.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry about that. I should have said that. You guys are going.
No, we're going the other direction.
We said that for major depression.
I'm the young guy. I'm allowed to go.
Yeah, he can.
But here's the thing: is that in the heart, when you're looking for something truthful, when you're looking for the genuine, it really is a setup to find out that it's always really been inside of you.
Yeah.
The who real you is. Yeah.
That's right. And who is actually in you. And that was a key factor for me, because once I discovered that, I remember when I used to ride motorcycles and stuff too. I remember going out all by myself and going through all this stuff. And And I thought, I remember writing a poem. I said, I don't know what I'm looking for, but when I find it, I'll never look again.
Right.
And I've got to tell you, I still experience disappointment. I still experience difficulties and stuff like that. And I'm still being unraveled. And yet at the same time, I have this sense of something that was uncovered. It's like removing all the clothing of your program. Native people, when they go through a change, what they'll do is a major change, a paradigm shift. What they'll do is they'll remove their old clothes and they'll burn it in the fire. It has to be burned in the fire so they can reclothe themselves with something new. So, and it's a process. I'm still going through that.
My one son did that. He wore the same shorts for like 6 months straight, and so we took it off him and burned it. We set it. We started a campfire and we burned his clothes.
Wow.
I have a guy.
He still remembers that.
I've got a guy
Paradigm shift.
Yeah, I've got a guy who was like that. He didn't want to waste anything, and he had a brand new jacket. And I was running crew, and I had some other guys on the crew. And every time he'd sit down, there'd be a puff of feathers that would come out and get into our lunches and stuff like this. And finally, I'd had enough, And so he had hung his jacket up. He went outside, and I knew he had his new jacket in the car. And so I told the guys, I've had enough of this. I'm not going to eat feathers anymore. Give me that dang jacket. I took that jacket. I took it outside, and I took a fusee. I lit it on fire, and he'd never washed it. He could have changed. He didn't even change oil on it. It burned for hours and hours and hours. But I mean, here the illustration is simple. You don't want it. Depending on how you're raised, your programming, like you're saying, and sometimes you have to just take that thing out and you have to burn it, and it'll burn with the oil of your past life and all the garbage that comes. And it could take a long time until it's completely consumed.
Well, it's interesting, but from a Hebrew standpoint, you take an olive and you crush it, and that's associated with people. They have to be crushed so that the real essence comes out. And what do you do with that essence? It's good for food, for health. It's good for lighting. And it also is a lubricant.
Right.
That's right.
To make things move slower. So, our old selves are being crushed so the new self can come through.
Threshing floor. It's interesting what you're both saying, is because I'm thinking the book that I'm reading right now, it talks about that we are being programmed, like you said, David, from the very beginning, but yet as we get older into our teenage years, and God, when we were young, Tom, when we were young.
Oh, I'm already young.
Yeah, well, that's right. When we were young, we didn't have the distractions.
My beard's whiter than his. Whoops.
It is. Yes. We didn't have the distractions that we have today with these video games, iPhones, all of this stuff like this. We didn't have all of this stuff that they have today. We were outside playing. We were outside shooting our BB guns. We were outside playing sports.
We're shooting each other with BB guns
all the time. But these people today, these children today, are totally being conditioned for whatever's coming afterwards. I don't know what's coming. When you see this thing going on with Facebook, with the meta world, with virtual living, you're looking at a situation that they're trying to make a perfect world within electronics. In other words, they're going to make a world. I heard this guy talk about this, that you will actually work in the meta world. In other words, if you have an office job, you'll put this device on, you'll go to your virtual world, you'll go to your office, and you'll type. You'll be just like you're at work. You'll be able to go to the store with this credit card that you have in the meta world. You'll actually go to a mall, nobody else around you, but there'll be people there, but you won't be there. So if we're conditioned now and seeing what's going on in today's world with people killing each other for no reason and stuff like that, what's it going to be like in the future when we are being totally conditioned to be isolationists, be by ourselves, which we know that's definitely a negative. We know we're one. We're supposed to be one community, but yet we're not going to be sharing off each other. Discouragement, they're saying you won't even have discouragements. If I want to jump like you jump, Tom, I can just program the machine and jump 200 feet up in the air.
It's a quasi matrix.
It really is. It really is. And you won't need a God.
No. And what's interesting is, like, my kids, we didn't have TV for the longest time.
No.
When we got cable, we said no, we don't want cable. So we started getting video cassettes, and then eventually we got DVDs, and we still got them.
Right.
So the kids watch all of our these videos, and it's their programming's different than their peers. Absolutely different.
That's right.
And not only are they different, but my kids will meet up with the old guys and say, "Oh yeah," and so I know nothing, from Colonel Klink,
I know nothing.
I know nothing. Roger Bannon and Sergeant Schultz. So you'd be surprised how many people he's been able to be. Older people like you two, they've been able to befriend because that's what they knew.
Right.
So there's a cross generation situation taking place, past me to the previous generation.
Right.
And vice versa, and but totally different. Yeah, we are so, I'll say it, damn programmed.
Right.
We spend the rest of our life, and this is why I'm convinced reincarnation exists, because it's going to take multiple lifetimes to deprogram ourselves.
It really is. It really is.
Well, maybe you guys, but not me.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
6'11" jumper.
Yeah, really sorry about that. But yeah,
so I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt. I have a question. Is that what
He's
is
your
it?
elder. He's your elder.
This point of contact that this particular generation does. I mean, what are they interfacing with? What is that? What is the sum totality of that? What is being expressed in that?
A pre-programmed world.
It's a world they're going to sell to you, Tom. They're going to say, look, Tom, this world right here, you don't have to worry about viruses no more or mandates because you'll be virtual. You won't be in contact with anybody. And I'm not trying to be sick, but even sex, they're saying that you ain't got to worry about pregnancy or nothing no more because you can just have sex and there's nothing going to, I guess, get you knocked up because you're all virtual now. So basically they're saying it's a lifesaver because you're going to have a world with no problems because there won't be no germs, no diseases. There'll be no stealing because nobody can steal from you unless they hack you through the computer. So they're offering basically a perfect matrix is what they're offering.
Yeah, that's
well, the goal in reality is depopulation anyway.
Well, you're going to have 600-pound teenagers sitting on their couch, living in these virtual worlds, looking like Tom Selleck in the games, and they're going to be dying at 30 years because they're these kids today, they don't know how to exercise or do anything. They don't know how to get out and walk or nothing no more.
No, they don't. And it reminds me of Sequest. Remember Sequest?
Yes.
And there was one episode in there where they're playing games,
right? And
they were actually running robots shooting, and then they went into the future, and then there was only 2 people left,
right?
And they destroyed the computer, so that the male and the female can get together and start having children,
right?
So, is there a connection? And you guys are probably aware of this. Isn't there a connection with artificial intelligence? Then that is,
yes,
we're moving in that particular direction.
That's where it's going. Yeah. If you ever listen to Rogan, or you listen to Elon Musk, actually, they talk about this transhuman that they're designing and everything. They're basically putting every information into these computers. I mean, that's why when you and David or Tom Google something, those search engines and information go into a big data bank that one day is going to be a hard drive for an AI one day that's going to know everything. It's going to know everything that's possible to know on this side, basically, except the stuff that we're learning spiritually. I don't know how it would understand any of that, but it might. But that's what they're trying to do is create AI. What better way to have 10 employees that are AIs that know everything than 20 of us?
Let's be realistic here. We talk about computers. Computers are created by man.
Right.
And there's an artificial intelligence there.
Right.
Well, that's a machine.
Right.
What about us?
Right.
Well, we're, as I always say, we're biomechanical machines.
Right.
We have a pre-programming already that takes place, and that's our instinct.
Right.
And many of us live by that. So if it can learn our instinct or the artificial instinct, it can take us. But if we let the soul come through, and deprogram ourselves from religion, from politics, from any number of things. In reality, something like that can't win, and won't win.
No, it can't win. It ain't going to win overall.
Right.
But now, David, you're Doctor Who. You watch Doctor Who, right?
Oh,
yes. Did you see the one where River Song died and the doctor saved her memory, her consciousness into a disc, basically? It was in the library.
River died. Yeah. It's been a while since I watched them.
It's okay, but basically what he did was he.
I liked River. She's cute.
She was great. She was actually in ER back in the day. But anyway, he saved her consciousness in a disk drive. So he always has her consciousness. If you want to put it in a computer, she's there. So the same thing I think is what they're trying to do. There's a show that was very popular called The 100. And it was about the Earth basically is set off with a nuclear bomb. They set off these spaceships up in space, and they basically sent 100 young people down to experiment to see if the atmosphere was right. Well, there was generations of people. They called them gods, but all they were was these chips that would basically go into the back of the neck, and they would kill the consciousness of the person alive, but it would take over that consciousness. And they just, when they got ready to die, they take the chip out and put it in somebody else. That's what's coming for the rich and famous is they want immortality.
Immortality.
That's what they want to do. I believe that's anyway what they want to do.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how they're going to.
For you guys.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, David. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's interesting how they're going to do that because they got to keep the person at the lower level of consciousness.
Yes, they got to.
Yeah.
I wrote down a question here that I want to field to you guys. What does an artificial spirituality, what will it look like then? What are they pointing to? Because you know that there are going to be some people whose sense of consciousness, I mean, can you describe it? Is there anything out there that's moving in that particular direction to define it?
No, spirituality is vaster than our intelligence. It's a universal soul.
Yes.
I don't think it can be.
But David, before you finish your answer, going back on last week's show that we did on the serpent, is this not what the serpent wanted? Is this not what the serpent wanted? Was the divine? He wanted the divine spark. What he wanted.
Right. He pushed Eve into the tree, so to speak.
Right.
And she bit of the fruit.
Right.
Of the tree of knowledge of it should be, it says good and evil, but they're not really opposites.
Not right.
But anyway, not to get bogged down in it, but ate it. And rather than give it to the serpent,
gave it to Adam.
She raised it up to Adam Rishon.
Yeah.
Which cut him out of the picture. So what is his salvation now?
Right.
Keeping us from inheriting our true spiritual selves.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about, Tom, right there. I think ultimately that's what his goal still is whatever is now it's trying to take over, is to trying to get that spark is what they're trying to get. And it's like David said, well, he was saying a while ago, is you're going to have a subhuman. Like in the Matrix, they had the people in the battery chambers just living off that. You've got to have the sub. You'll never get rid of them because that's what's going to power the elect. That's going to switch their chips out to make sure they live forever. But religion-wise, I don't think AI can do it. I don't know. I don't think it can.
Religion? Spirituality, you mean?
Spirituality, I'm sorry. Religion, they can cause. They may have their own religion.
They've done enough with religion. Oh, my gosh. And I don't care which one it is. I don't care which one it is.
You ain't lying, brother.
Oh, my gosh. Well, this is a philosophy.
It is.
So, all they want to do is put you into a specific philosophical box.
Right.
And keep you in there.
Right.
You have choices, but it's choices between various boxes. You want the green one, the red one, the blue one. Those are your choices. The illusion of choice.
That's right. Illusion of choice. I like that.
Ooh, I like that.
That's good.
I like that. I don't know where that came from. That was a good one.
Pin it down.
Right.
T-shirt.
Woo.
That's a T-shirt. But yeah, so we need to start wrapping this up a little bit. But this has been very good. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Wrapping it up.
We see. So to sum this up, to bring it back down.
Did you miss it, Mike?
What?
I said I was wrapping it up. I forget it.
Tom, take care of the youngest when he's out of control.
I'm just looking the other way.
I know.
God help the young guy.
I'll call myself ice cream.
Yeah. Hazelnut. But anyway. Hazelnut. So we have this situation of discouragement. It does seem hard at the time it happens. Yes. But usually when you're looking on the other side after things happen, it's overkill. Most of the time, I had a friend that he's going through a divorce with his wife, and he's really upset, and he wanted to settle, and it didn't work. And I kept on telling him, I said, man, it's going to happen. Whatever's going to happen, you're going to be on the next day like it happened. No big deal. Well, they went to court. The judge made them settle, and it worked out exactly, and they got to finalize it. I told him today, I said, I told you. I mean, it does seem hard when you're going through it, but generally when you're on the other side, and I think the same way is going to be with death too, as we approach our time of when we leave this body, we worry and we stress and we're everything. But I think when we get to the other side, we're going to be like, what's the big deal? You know what I'm saying? This was nothing. This was nothing at all. So I think we need to look at our failures and discouragements in different light, that it's not an enemy attacking us. The devil's not after us. I said something wrong, or I did something wrong and bad. No, these things are trying to force us to mold us into where we, as David and I say about the tree of life, that flow has got to flow. And if it's stagnant, something will go in there to force that flow to flow again. It may be something bad. Something bad may happen, but the flow's got to continue. And that's the way with our life, is we're seeking our path, or we're seeking that spirituality that we need to be in. That stagnation will kill us. And there's something Barbara said that was interesting. Oh, I was reading this. The world in creation is never stagnant. The moon's always on schedule. The sun's always on schedule. Everything in nature is right. We're the only thing that gets stagnant. And when we get stagnant, some things have to happen to keep us moving. Maybe in the right, maybe in the wrong direction. I've been in both places before, but like David said, good and evil are not a good term. Darkness and light, it's not two separations, they're one. God created the light out of the darkness, so they're one. But I think sometimes we're looking for a quick way out. I think sometimes we're looking for, if I just pray to Jesus longer, this will keep from happening to me. Or if I say my prayers at the right time of the day, I'm not going to face this situation. Or if I don't do this on Shabbat, and all of this stuff is good within its way, but it doesn't cause bad things from not happening. It's going to happen.
True.
And it takes time for people to really come to that realization. I saw a skit on Saturday Night Live. Yeah, well, you know what Chris Farley is?
Yes.
Comedian.
Yes.
Well, they did a thing called the motivational speaker. And so what he did is a couple of parents, they wanted him to talk to their two kids. So he goes in there and he's saying, "You kids, you're going to mountain that. Look at me." He says, "I'm living in a van down by the river." He said, I'm not making the most of my life and what I should do. And so he said to the son, "Do you want to end up like me?" The guy said, No, I don't want to end up like. So he goes to the daughter. He says, what do you want to do with your life? Do you want to end up like with me, smoking doobies in a van down by the river? And he said, "What do you want?" She says, "I want to end up in a van smoking doobies down by the river." But the point is every you can have motivational speakers.
These are my teachers? I don't know.
Remind me, David, not to do this again with Tom at the end of the show.
But the point is that, you can try and change someone all you want. You can give them all the motivational speakers that you want. Yeah. And that might appeal to them, living in a van down by the river smoking doobies. But at the same time, sooner or later, you're going to have to come around and you're going to have to realize that, hey, maybe the quality of life that you're living isn't isn't going to be that good. And so you have to go through the disappointments. The motivational speaker was trying to convince other people, but I mean, she didn't want that. She wanted what he had. Well, I mean, sooner or later it'll catch up to her, and she'll wish that she wasn't smoking doobies, living in a van down by the river. But I mean that's, I know it's kind of a funny, ridiculous story, but I was affected by it. I thought, I mean, that's what she wanted. Okay, we'll give you what you want, and you'll find out later in life when you get to be David's age or your age, Mike, that that's a tough life to live. That's a tough life to live.
Never in the band anyway. But the thing is also too, the whole concept of like when I was young and when I got to the age of going to concerts, I still love Kiss. I loved them with all of my heart. And I'd go to concerts and Mama would always, that beautiful Christian thing. What would you do if Jesus came back in the middle of the concert? I'm like, well, he'd have to wait till the concert's over because I'm not leaving the concert until they get through with the concert.
That's right.
It would just aggravate her to death because I'm not one to be moved by fear like that. I've never been one. You're not going to scare me to your understanding or belief. You're just not
exactly.
going to. Like with this whole mandate stuff and everything now, I'm not going to be moved by fear to do what you want me to do. And the thing is, like, religion is so good at that, the negative trait of if you don't do this, blah, 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 blah. And okay, so what? So if I want to be the guy by the band smoking doobies, being in the band, maybe for a portion of my life, that's what needs to happen for me. But when I grow up, I want to have a bigger band with bigger doobies and a bigger band like the Rolling Stones or something like that. But no,
gosh.
But fear never works. You did, Tom. You took us there, brother. Me and David didn't say anything about the doobies at the thing.
Oh my gosh!
It really is a part of life. I mean,
it really is.
We're going to experience. We're really going to have to experience what we need to experience, even the disappointments and the heartaches, as hard as they are, and they hurt like hell. I did the potty word there. Sorry, David.
You're okay.
Well, anyways, okay. Thank you.
Why you apologize?
They hurt like Guyana.
My virgin ears.
Well, I'm trying to lead by example.
I think we three can agree too that with the way things are going right now, and this is not fear, this is not trying to be negative. In the economic, worldly system that we're living in now, there's going to be a lot more discouragement and disappointing that we're going to see coming up. And I think that's one thing. I'm glad I'm at the age that I am now, that I am seeking more spirituality. Because I've given up on everything as far as secular government. I've given up on all of that because there's no hope in that. There's no security in that. And I'm glad I'm at the age I am now. Because if I was younger, I'd probably be one of these idiots out here fighting people and stuff like that, But now I've given up on all that.
Well, I think the reality is everyone's going to come to a crisis of belief of some sort.
Yes.
They're going to have to push beyond the little bubble they're in.
I hope so. I hope so. We need awakening. We do. Well, David,
in my personal, go ahead. Can I say one more thing, Rebel?
No.
At the heart of difficulties, at the heart of these crucial things that we're experiencing, you're going to find God there.
I agree.
You will find God there.
I agree.
And it's not going to be all pretty, and it isn't going to be all black and white, but it's going to be real. It's going to be genuine.
Right.
And I would rather listen to one guy talk about what they've went through from the heart, because that's where you're going to find God, rather than someone who's been indoctrinated with, the 4 spiritual laws and all of these other things. I mean, really, I find God in that kind of stuff. Sorry, Rebel.
One more story. You gave a story. I'm going to give a story.
Oh,
I'm going to. But 2 years ago, there was a famous football player for Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know his name. I don't keep up with them. But he was stranded in a snowstorm. I mean, he was trapped. Well, there's this guy who was homeless who lived in his SUV with his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Rode by and said, "Man, I need to go help that guy. At that no job, he's homeless, and he gets his shovel out and he starts shoveling and freezing." Well, come to find out, this guy that was homeless was a bad alcoholic and stuff. But he hit rock bottom. He didn't have a religious experience. He didn't have Jesus talking to him. He hit rock bottom, and he said, like David said with you said about I think I need to make a better decision in my life,
That's
and
right.
so he started. wanting to help people. That's how he treated that. Well, come to find out, it was a famous football player that he freed. The football player was seeking him out through the press and everything, gave him tickets to a championship football game, which is like $2,000. They fixed his SUV for him, put a window in there because they didn't have a window, did everything, helped him out with some finances just because he made the right decision, not because of religious pressure, not because of somebody appearing to him, Moses or whoever, Elvis appearing to him. He didn't repent or nothing like that. He just hit rock bottom and said, if I'm going to survive, I need to move on from where I'm at now. And I think sometimes with the discouragement and stuff we go to, like King David did after his child died, he wanted to keep on mourning and keep on fasting and everything. And finally, the angel said, look, you're going to see your baby again one day. Not now. Get your ASS up, get a shower, get eating, and get on with life. And it's a harsh reality. But sometimes I think we need to, I know I have to get off my pity party sometime and keep on going. All right, David, go ahead. You got one more thing to say. I saw you.
No, I'm fine. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I can see exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly. So thank y'all both very much. Very good. We got to name this segment because I enjoy it so much. It's fun just to sit back and talk about things that maybe people can catch and glean from.
2 teachers and a student.
We would never know who the teachers were, never who the student was.
I'm sorry, the 2 idiots and a student.
Well, hey, I was going to say something too, but better to hang around with a couple of mixed nuts than some fruits of the spirit. So, sorry about that.
Hey, we're honest. We're just trying to get through things, right?
We're going to
this
name
is
this.
fun.
We're going to name this. We're going to name y'all both going to have nicknames too. I'm going to get y'all both some nicknames. You're going to get them.
Nicknames. Okay. We got to come up with one for you, Mike.
I got mine. Rebel. I'm Rebel.
No.
Rebel?
No,
okay.
We got something better for you.
You
can't say it on the air.
All I have to do is highlight this, and it says remove Tom and remove David. That's all I have to do. I have the power. This is the multiverse right here.
It's been fun, guys. It's nice to be able to talk about these things with a sense of humor and to be able to. That's where it really is good.
Agreed.
I appreciate you both. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank y'all too. And I'm going to stop this now. So until next week, thank
you.
We don't know what we're going to talk about next week, and we're not going to even really discuss it. We're just going to get on here and start talking about this. We may talk about the band with the doobies in the band. You don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we will be here. Until next time, I'm going to have a name for this show. Thank you.